Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for T&D, I have a mug by the Katami Conservancy, who are the sponsors of Fat Bear Week. This one is King Otis. Otis won Fat Bear Week this last week. This is actually my fiance's mug. She was so excited about it. She loves Otis. She was really pulling for him last year. Or the year before last, I guess, because last year was the one that he won. So we were very excited in this house when Otis won Fat Bear Week. They are obviously not a sponsor of mine, but if they ever were to sponsor me for some reason, I would definitely do a full episode on bears. I don't really know how that would work, but I would figure it out. Also, inside of it, I have a peach lemon herbal tea from Private Selection. I think that's just the Kroger brand. It's really good. It's a good, light kind of. You're not really trying to get going. You're not really trying to go to bed. It's a good middle ground because it is very fruity, I guess. But it is very good for the middle of the day. Okay. Anyway, moving on into what we're actually talking about today. It is Thursday, which makes it Third Party Thursday, one of my favorite days of the week, because I really like talking about third-party stuff. Today, we are talking about Legendary Adventures Epic Play for 5th edition. This book is super cool. If you didn't gather what it is by the name, it is a book for playing up past 20th level, which is obviously not part of the core 5th edition rule set, because they cap it at 20th level, because that is essentially when you become demigods. Well, sometimes campaigns want to go past that, so you have books like this to help facilitate that process. If you want to pick this book up for yourself, I'll say this again at the end of the whole bit, looking through it, but if you want to pick it up for yourself, you can find it at Legendary Adventures, Epic 5e on DriveThruRPG. And I definitely recommend you guys check it out if it sounds interesting to you, because it is a pretty cool book. So we are going to go through this real quick. It is only one book. It is about 125 pages long. I think it's 127 technically. So it's not particularly long, but it is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and let's get into it, shall we? So first up, the first thing you come across in this book is the 12 core class advancement table feature pages thing. So this goes from, this will help players get, there we go, from levels 20 to 30. So 21 through 30 are what you will find in this book, and it is an interesting read, I will say. It's odd to me, in part because as you level up through here, obviously your proficiency bonus goes up, and you gain additional spell slots, depending on if you're a spellcaster or not. But while it does sort of elevate those features that you have sort of innately as part of your class, like if you're a barbarian, it gives you more brutal critical, there we go, dice. Or if you're a cleric or paladin, you get additional uses of your channel divinity, that sort of thing. It does essentially have you multi-class within your class, assuming that you want to remain in that singular class as part of the epic play thing. And if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, let me try and explain it a little better. So I am open right now to the Epic Cleric. The Epic Cleric, as I just mentioned, gets additional uses of Channel Divinity. They also get additional cantrips. They get additional spell slots. If you hit level 30, you have 2 9th level spells. Actually, starting at level 24, you have 2 9th level spells. But your higher level spell slots all increase in volume as you go up, so that you actually have 3 6 7 8s and 4 1 through 5s. And then 2 9s at level 30, which is pretty cool, honestly. But the way that this works, sorry, the cat is all over the place right off camera here. I don't know if you guys can hear him or not over the microphone, but he's doing something crazy. Anyway, the way that this works is that when you start to gain additional levels in this, usually starting at level 21, you can pick another subclass within your overall class and start gaining those subclass features as you level up. You get a total of 3 different features this way, at the different sort of ranking levels, essentially, that you would get them at. I don't love this as a mechanic, simply because there are certain classes that have only 3 slots for their subclass advancement. Like bards. Bards gain features at 3, 6, and 14. There we go. Whereas someone like sorcerer or wizard has at least 4 different spots that they gain things. Barbarians as well. I know most of them are 4, but these are just the ones that are coming to my mind as I am talking right now. And so if you're playing an epic bard, you end up getting all of the subclass features of another subclass. Whereas if you're playing an epic barbarian or something like that, you only get the 3 lower ones, which, to be fair, still pretty dang good. But if you have the option to essentially have 2 full subclasses or 1 3/4, you're gonna want to go with the 2, right? Yeah, right. So that bit is a little bit weird to me, but that is just kind of its own separate little thing. Then the way that they handle ability score improvements in this is that there are 4 different options, or 4 different landmarks, milestones, there we go, where you can pick up additional ability scores in this 21 through 30 progression. The way that they have it laid out is that you can increase 1 ability score and its maximum by 1 and pick a feat, or you can forego the ability score increase and pick an epic feat instead. I'll talk about those in just a second here. And those are the 2 things that are sort of constant across the different classes in here. Otherwise, I think they really do a good job of sort of emphasizing and giving credit to the base class and helping to elevate all of its different features that you get throughout. It does sort of lean more specifically into archetypes as opposed to like being a little bit more generalized, like maybe I would hope that it was. No, go away. Thank you, though. But that is just the way that it goes sometimes. Still, overall, pretty dang cool. And it does sort of really lean into the idea of, like, you have become a demigod. Now you are, like, actually becoming a demigod. If that makes any sense to you at all. So, like I said, that is for the 12 core classes. They do not have Artificer in here. As far as I am aware, Artificer is still not part of Wizards' game licensing that allows people to make stuff that you can pay for that include the Artificer. So hopefully at some point we'll get an addendum or another one of these books, either from them or somebody else, that adds in Artificer once Wizards gets that all sorted out. But for now, this is what we got. Moving on from the actual classes and their ability to progress, we come to Epic Feats. There are not that many of them. It is a 2-page spread right here. If you're watching the video, you can see it. There are only about 20 of them, which is still obviously a good number of them. But they're, sorry, 15, not 20. But they obviously are very specific then. But at the same time, these feats are kind of what give you that legendary feeling. So if you get your, wizard up to a 22 intelligence and you're feeling good about that, and you're like, you know what, I need something to really sort of gas me up here, you can just start taking epic feats instead. Some of the notable ones in here that I think are important to just sort of like point out, and some that are pretty sort of universally known. There is epic resistance. You gain resistance to a specific type of damage across the board, no matter what. Talented, you gain proficiency in 5 skills or tools. And one of my favorites that actually I would take before any ability score increases you can get, legendary resistance, which is exactly what it sounds like, from a monster stat block, once per long rest, you get to choose to succeed on a saving throw if you've failed it. That is the one that I'm like, ooh, well, hello there. That is a phenomenal kind of thing. And I would highly recommend people take that if they are given the opportunity to take that. But hey, maybe that's just me. So that's really all there is on those feats. There are some of them in there there are some of them in there. They're all pretty cool. They just sort of add this extra bit of like over the top power that you're like, whew, man. Really, this whole book with all the player options, you're sitting there like, man, that is way overpowered. And then you have to remind yourself that, like, yeah, that's kind of the point. These adventures are past the point of being able to, like, deal with gods on the regular, or that's where they're trending towards. So you just got to get into the right mindset, and this book is really, really cool. Now, the majority of this book, from 36 through 125 pages, 36 through 125, are monsters. All monsters. Which are really awesome, and I'm really excited about. These monsters are all between CR 20 and 35. Just to, you know, really drive home the idea that, like, you're going to need these big guys for this one. I am going to talk about a couple of them here. Not all of them, obviously. It'd take a while. Couple of honorable mentions to get out of the way at the beginning. The Time Maestro, Future Assassin, Planar Assassin. Those are all just super cool as, like, concepts. You can kind of put together what they do based on the name, which is why I'm not really going to go over them. And they're all lower 20s CR, but they are just pretty cool. I am instead going to kick it off with something that shouldn't surprise anybody if you have spent any time listening to my channel, watching my channel, that sort of thing. They have a section on dragons. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 dragons in here that are all so cool. They range from CR 22, I believe, up to CR 28. 28 being the Vile Dragon, which is just cool. These are... How do I put this? These dragons are specialty dragons, we'll say. So you've got your gem, you've got your metallic, you've got your chromatics. And then you've got a couple of dragons in official material that are specialized more. Like the ones that came out in Strixhaven in particular. Have like very specific niches that they fill. There aren't like scaled up and down versions of them. They are what they are. There's one that breathes math. Like, I mean, come on. And these dragons fall into the same category. You've got your energy dragon, your holy dragon, your robo dragon, your soul hoarder dragon, and your vile dragon. And obviously these could be scaled up and down if you get this book and you're like, man, I really want to use a lower version of this, like an adult version of this, as opposed to the legendary, or the ancient. There we go. That's the word. My words are all over the place today, apparently. But these are just, they're just so cool. And they're so cool to me because they are dragons, and etc. etc. I love dragons. They are my favorite. But that just kind of is what it is. The Soul Hoarder Dragon has a breath weapon called Soulfire Breath. It deals necrotic damage in a 90-foot cone. That's insane. Let's move on from dragons, because otherwise I would sit here and talk about them all day. This one is another set here. We're going to skip past the epic elementals. While those are awesome, they are a little bit less in my wheelhouse of adoration, maybe. We're going to skip forward to the Harbingers of the Apocalypse, who are all CR 23, but there are the 4 of them, Strife, War, Famine, and Death. They are cool because they are what they are. If that is a campaign that you want to run, they have stat blocks in here, and they all feel unique and specialized, which is awesome. Highly recommend checking those out if you get the chance to. They range from like rogue-ish to fighter-ish to barbarian-ish to spellcaster-ish. They're really cool. And then I want to take a second here to actually just talk about the, not even just talk about, to touch on and mention the CR 30 plus monsters. There are 4 of them, and they're just cool. The first one, the CR 30 monster, is the World Turtle, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is the turtle with the world on its back that walks through the cosmos. I don't know in what situation you would be dealing with that, particularly because they tend to be pretty, like, you know, benevolent kind of beings. They're not there to ruin anybody's day, but they are statted out in here in case your players need to go fight one for some reason. Followed by Fenrir at CR 33, which is just at some point they become almost obnoxious how strong they are. The next 2 are definitely more so, but Fenrir it is essentially is a wolf stat block with a bunch of like dragon things and Tarrasque things built into it, which is kind of crazy. I love it. It's a really, really cool stat block to get to actually just sort of flip through. And then we come to our 2 CR 35 monsters in here. I don't really know how to say this other than to just kind of come out and tell you what they are. The first one is Odin, like the god Odin. There is no good way to explain this other than it's Odin, right? It is Odin. He has 4 legendary actions. I'm just looking down and reading this. He has 4 legendary actions on a turn. For 2 of those actions, he can redistribute 100 hit points among creatures that he can see. Which means that he can take people's hit points, shuffle them around, and give them out as he sees fit. He can't knock a creature unconscious with that, or increase a creature's hit point total beyond its maximum. And you can try and resist it with a charisma saving throw. But realistically, like, that is a good way to just suck 100 hit points out of a barbarian and dump them into yourself. Which obviously then will get churned through. But that's insane. And then the next one, the other CR 35 monster, is Satan. Just Satan. It's crazy. It's crazy. But here's the thing about these 2, though. They don't have crazy amounts of hit points. Odin has, I think, 375. I just slipped past him. And Satan has 290. But they have so many things that allow them to just, like, absorb hit points that it is very, very difficult to get rid of them, quite frankly. That is the long and short of that. I mean, there's no good way for me to really go over these stat blocks with you guys without taking another 30 minutes here. But they are really pretty well put together. And as long as they have the ability to actually do something, they're gonna really kind of screw your party up for good reason. There is CR 35 for good reason. There is then a single magic item in this book. At the end, it is a legendary magic item. It is a alien symbiote. It feels kind of like it was tossed in there as an afterthought, but it is a 2-page full spread for a single magic item, which is pretty cool, I have to admit. But that is everything that you can find in this book. Again, that is Legendary Adventures, Epic 5e on DriveThruRPG. Definitely go check it out. It is a phenomenal resource. It's really cool. If nothing else, it'll give you some good inspiration. If you are gearing up for like a final boss fight, maybe you can look at some of these classes, the prestige type classes they have in here, and give your players like a feature of them here and there to really sort of boost them, you know, over the top. So that is everything in that book. Today is Thursday, which means for our streams, podcasts, shows, etc. that are happening today, we obviously have Critical Role, Authors and Dragons, NADPOD, and LGBT D&D. So definitely go check those out. Catch up with them if you haven't caught up with them. I know that I have been, this list of shows that I keep telling you guys about is simply too big for anybody to actually be able to consume all of. But try some of these new ones out. They are really cool. I mentioned before I took the break back at the end of season 1 that I was excited to try NADPOD. I have since started NADPOD, and I adore it. It is so fun. It's so funny. And the episodes are only like an hour-ish long, maybe to an hour and a half. So check that out. For sure, that is my personal recommendation off of this list, outside of Critical Role, because most people have already seen Critical Role or have an opinion on it that they have formed already. But that is everything that I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about this book on this here Third Party Thursday. It has been a lot of fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much. First, thank you so much to Arcane Anthems for all of the music that you hear in the background in this video. Check out his stuff on Apple Music, Spotify, and Patreon. They are really, really phenomenal tracks to help sort of elevate your game. I use them. They are fantastic. But thank you guys so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons, which if you are interested in becoming a patron, there's a link to my Patreon in the description of this video / podcast, whichever way you are listening to it. There should be, at least. I'm pretty sure. So that is, everything I have to talk to you guys about. So don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.